Right, so today I'm going to be fitting a Propex heat source HS2000. Some people fit them underneath the driver's seats, but I've had a look under the van and all I can see under there is fuel tank and heat shields, and not really much space to drill through any holes for the ducting for the intake, the outtake for the gas pipe. So I'm going to be fitting it just behind the driver's seat. I'm going to be having a bench bed along here going from the fridge unit all the way up to the driver's seat, and that's going to be like a pull-out unit with some flip downs on the front. I'm going to have my battery bank under here, and I'm going to fit the Propex here as well. I've had a look under the van and this offers the best space underneath with minimal obstructions to be able to get the venting, intake and outtake fitted through, and also the gas pipe. I've already ran the gas feed across to the general area with a T going off for the gas for the fridge. So I just need to drill a couple of 1-inch holes for the exhaust, a 8mm hole for the gas pipe, then start boxing it in, and at the end of the day I should have a working fitted Propex gas heater. Right, so when marking up where to drill the holes, because I've already fitted my Ultra safety flooring, marking on this flooring isn't particularly easy, so I've just laid a strip of masking tape, lay the vent holes on top of the masking tape where you want to be drilling, and then you can then draw around with a pen where you want to be drilling the holes, and then when you take the unit away you'll be able to see nice and neatly exactly where you need to be drilling. So I'm going to mark these up, get the holes drilled and see what they look. Right, so I've marked where I want the holes now. I'll put it at an ever so slight angle coming away from the wall rather than having it perfectly straight, just because the vents themselves are going to have to go on a 90-degree bend just to come out and vent out of the unit. So just because I put it at an ever so slight angle, not much at all but ever so slight, it's just going to reduce the tautness on the angle on the vents. So I'm going to get these holes drilled and get the unit fitted. So I'll leave that in place, just want to see the drill bit from underneath and see where it is, make sure it's in a good place. And if it is, get the hole saw out. If it's not, treat the hole and find a better one. So let's go and have a look. Should be able to make that out. There's the pilot hole bit. That's come out just above the exhaust heat shield, so that's easily accessible to get the exhaust vent actually coming through. So I'm going to measure up, make sure the other one's going to be hitting just about the same spot as well. Get that drilled and get the holes widened. So that should be the two holes for the Propex exhaust and intake. Need one more hole to drill for the 8mm gas pipe, and then it should be okay to fit. Right, so that's a test fit, just to be sure that the heater's going into the holes okay, it's lined up fine. As you can see, that's going straight in, straight out. So there's no issues there at all. So now I just need to get the gas pipe widened. Right, so now that's test fitted, it's in okay. It's time to drill the 8mm pipe for the gas supply. I'll probably actually put a small drop-out vent in as well. Propex don't specifically state you have to, but general good practice in any gas installation within a caravan or motorhome, any sort of gas connection should have a drop-out vent near it. And because there's going to be a connection on there, I'm going to probably put a drop-out vent in, and I might even put a normal full-size drop-out vent in, but use that to feed the gas through at the same time, rather than having to drill the 8mm and a separate vent at the same time. So I'll check underneath just to be sure there's going to be plenty of space for a full-size vent, and if there is, I'll just use that to feed the gas pipe through at the same time, and that will also act as a drop-out vent just in case there were any issues with the connection. It shouldn't be, but just in case, better safe than sorry. So I'm going to just double check underneath just to be sure there's going to be plenty of space for the vent, and I'll get a vent drilled. Just on a quick check, plenty of room for a vent, so I'm going to drill a pilot hole first just to be sure. Always want to be, again, better safe than sorry. Drill a small tiny little pilot hole first rather than a massive hole, then realising you're going into a beam or supporting bar or anything like that. So I'll get the pilot hole drilled and get it widened out. So there's the pilot hole drilled. there's plenty of space for a full drop out vent, so I'll use that to feed the gas pipe through at the same time, just to save drilling an 8mm and a vent. So I'm going to widen that out, get a vent fitted, and then it's ready to get the gas pipes fed up and the Propex wired in. Right, so that's all of the holes drilled for the Propex now. I'm just going to get underneath the van, give them a paint treating, just to be sure there's not going to be any rust forming around any of the holes that I've just cut through. So I'm going to go give those a painting, then I'll be ready to feed the gas pipe through, well, fit the vent, feed the gas pipe through that, get it all connected to the Propex, and away we go. Right, so that's the vent I'm going to be using. It's just a straight push through one, 50mm. That'll go straight through, and then I'll just snip a couple of the squares out, and then I'll be able to feed the gas pipe up and through that. And then, as I say, if there were any issues with the gas, of which there shouldn't be, and it will all be getting safety tested and checked before I even use it, but if there were any issues further down the line, at least it's going to be a dropout hole and the unit's going to be completely boxed in, so if there were any issues, any gas would just fall out the hole. So I'm going to get that fitted, get it screwed in, and the Propex unit's almost ready to go in. Right, so I've got the vent fitted and secured from the inside. I've put a cutout in the actual vent grid, so now I'm just going to feed a gas pipe down, and it's going to feed underneath the heat shield and across to where I've got the T-junction for the fridge and the gas supply. So I'm just going to get the pipe fed through, vent around the heat shield for the exhaust, up and under, secured, and fastened onto the T. Right, so I've got the pipe for the gas in place. That's coming up nicely through the drop-out vent and underneath. It's coming out from the vent, which is just under there, and it's bending underneath the exhaust heat shield, coming out the other side, and it's just about to be joined into the T that's also going off down for the fridge and back to the gas supply. So I'm just going to run some of the thread seal around the male part of the coupling, get it connected up, tightened up, and then in theory, once the exhaust and intake are in place, that's the Propex pretty much all sorted. Right, so that's the exhaust pipe pretty much where I want it fed. I'll have a returning clip just holding it back just a little bit, just so it's level with the sill. But I'm going to have the exhaust coming out the driver's side, and the fresh air I'm going to buy a new full length pipe and feed that over to the passenger side, just so there's no risk of anything getting mixed up. So I just need to get a new pipe for the intake, get that fed. We're getting there. Right, so I'm just going to crack on and continue with the Propex. I just had to wait for a longer extension for the exhaust. The pipe that I had just wasn't long enough for the route that I'm going to be planning to take. So hopefully this is going to be just about right. So I'm going to fit that into the other hole coming through there. I've already got the exhaust itself fitted. This long one's the intake. So I'm just going to get this other one routed through, and then the Propex heater should be okay to get finally fitted. I've slid the Propex onto the pipes. I've left enough space so I can still get in, get the Jubilee clips up tight against the pipe itself and get it tightened. Then I'll push the unit down, secure the gas and secure the unit to the floor. So I'm going to tighten these up and get ready to get it pushed down. Right, so that's the Propex heater all in place and pretty much all plumbed in. Where the intake and exhaust were connecting, I've actually, where it's joining with the pipes, I've just put some fire cement all the way around that as well, just to be 100% sure that there's not going to be any leaks, because that handles temperature up to ridiculous temperatures. The gas pipes all on and fed through. As I say, the intake and exhaust are all fed through under the van, so I'll show you those now. The replacement pipe that I bought for the intake, although it was advertised for the Propex, I could not get the clamps, the hose clamps, to actually tighten up on it. It was advertised for Propex and the other night heaters as well, but it was actually a little bit too big. So what I've done is I've actually used the old piping, and where the new piping came in, it actually slid over the old piping, which goes to show how bigger it was compared to the original piping that came with the Propex. So to make sure I've got a good join under there, I've slid it probably about a good ½ inch, so there's a really nice seal over there. Then I put a Jubilee clip over there, and that's tightened up, and then it's also got the foil tape around it as well, so that should be completely airtight, 100%. I'll say that's 100% sealed and really tight with the clip on as well. I've gave it a really good tightness test and it just wasn't coming loose. So I've then fed the pipe, I've fed it up and cable tied it out the way, so it's not going to be interfering with any of the handbrake cables or the gas cables. Fed it further down, again secured it just using the holes that are already in the supporting beam, and then that's just going to be secured there with a P-clip. Now, just to be sure I wasn't getting any crap or crud inside the pipe, I actually put some tape over the end of the pipe, just so it wasn't going to be scraping up any rubbish or anything off the floor, just while I was basically screwing it into that pipe, and just while I was getting it in place and stuff. So that's the intake going all the way to that side of the vehicle, and the exhaust just pokes out there, and they both go up and straight above the heat shield for the exhaust, and through holes that I've cut, and as you can see they've been hammer-rated and rust proofed as well, just to be sure that the metalwork is going to be safe and sound. I've also secured the gas pipes away as well, so they're well away from the handbrake cables and any other lines that are going through. So now it's just a case of going to be getting the gas bottle connected up and giving it a test. But as far as the Propex itself goes, that is it fitted, installed, and other than the power and the negative wire that need connecting to the unit, it's ready to go. So I'm going to get the wiring done on it, and then I might give it a test fire. I'm just wiring in the thermostat for the Propex unit. I've run the cable in just behind the panel. I'm going to tidy that up in a minute. This is the only cable that I didn't actually run through up to the panel unit, because I was undecided where I was going to actually put the heater. So most of the spare cable I'm just going to loop up and leave next to the heater, and that's just going to have the main thermostat cable running down the side. I've had to unwire all of the wiring off the thermostat control unit, just to be able to get the cabling through the hole on the back of the ply and on the back mounting panel. So I'm just about to wire these back in, get that mounted back on the board, get the front cover on, and that'll be it, pretty much wired. Right, so that is the Propex heater completely installed, wired in and gas all connected. I've also just built a bog standard basic wood frame just on a hinge with a lid, just so I can close it up, and then the unit's also going to be boxed in under the bed. I'm going to have a bed running from the fridge unit there, going all the way along to the driver's seat, and the Propex heater and also the battery bank under there. They're all going to be boxed away underneath the bed, just to help with reduction of further noise coming from the heater as well. Obviously the more it's boxed in, the less noise there is to escape out into the living area. So the unit itself, inside the wooden frame that I've just knocked up for it, you've also got the gas dropout hole that I've made, which also feeds the gas pipe through. All the electrics are connected up into a panel that I've got there where I can turn everything on and off individually, and it's also got its own thermostatic control there as well. So if it's a little bit chilly, you can just turn the temperature up and it'll kick in. If it gets too hot, you turn the thermostat down and it'll turn off. So I've just turned the gas on there. I'll say that's a metal lined gas locker that I've made as well. Have a look at my channel to see how I've made that, because I made that from scratch. But I've just turned the gas on there, So I'm going to fire up the heater and show you it all working now it's all fitted in the van. All the exhaust and intake are all fed underneath the van. That should have been shown earlier in the video as well. So when you're turning on the heaters, you generally want the heat on full. Just flick it then to the flame setting. The fans will circulate inside the unit for probably around 15-20 seconds. You should then hear a click and the burner should then ignite, and you should hear a noise change as the burner is then starting to warm up the air. So I'll turn it on and listen to the unit fire up. Heard the click there, and that's the burner now fired up. So now the air that's coming out of the bottom vent there is going to start warming up. I've put it so the warm air comes out the bottom and the intake comes out the top, so then when it is on the cool down cycle, the cool down cycle isn't going to be pulling through really cold air, which then can actually cool down your van just as quick as the heater can heat it up. So obviously the higher that's going to be, it's going to be sucking in ever so slightly warmer air to help circulate inside the unit, but it means that it shouldn't be blowing out really cold air back into the van. But that's now starting to get nice and toasty coming out of that vent now. You can feel the heat coming off that, so that's really nice. So that is a completely fully working, wired up, tested Propex heater. Hope you found the video useful. If you're going to be fitting anything like this yourself, as I say, it's not particularly difficult. You just need to be comfortable drilling holes in the base of your van, and obviously be comfortable enough with running the gas pipes and making sure that there's no leaks. Obviously all of this is still going to be getting completely fully safety checked before I start using the van anyway, but as I say, that's still nice lovely warm coming out of there now. And if I turn the thermostat down, the heater should click off. There you go, the green light's gone out. So the burner's just turned off. So now it'll just start circulating air for 30 seconds, and then the unit itself will shut down. So there you go, that's how I've installed my Propex heat source HS2000 heater into the van. All the electrics wired, cabled in, gas wired, plumbed in, going all the way through underneath to an individual shut-off valve inside the gas locker. So there you go. Feel free to have a look at my channel. I'm documenting the entire conversion of this high top on there. There's other useful videos on there as well, so feel free to have a look at the channel. Feel free to do the usual YouTube stuff, like, comment, share, all the usuals. And yeah, I hope the video's been useful. Cheers for watching. Ta.